In the center of Sioux City is the Fourth Academy, a place where the regular meets the incredible. Today is a big deal because it is the day everyone finds out their destinies. Principal Xue Jinlong welcomes the future heroes of Kaiji Star and gives them a lowdown on a magical formation that's about to reveal their true potential. This will decide if they become swordsmen, knights, assassins, or mages, as the class they choose is a pathway to greatness. The principal activates the transfer formation, so now we meet Chao Yu, who has been waiting for this moment for 18 long years. While the system rolls for his talent, let's take a quick sidestep to learn a bit about Kaiji Star. Imagine Earth, but with dungeons, monsters, and magic thrown into the mix. Dungeons pop up out of nowhere, filled with all sorts of dangerous creatures. At 18, humans unlock abilities through a transfer formation and level up by defeating monsters rather than worrying about getting a driver's license. After being teleported, Chao finds himself in a dark and eerie space that feels like a nightmare with sharper visuals. As the class wraps up, a giant skull looms above him, and the system announces that he's hit the spooky jackpot. He is excited to discover that he is a necromancer, which is pretty rare. Using a staff, he can summon powerful undead minions and become a one-man army as long as he has enough mana. Hidden classes are usually way stronger than the regular ones. When he checks his stats, his excitement quickly turns into confusion because he has 0 spirit points. It's like getting a shiny new sports car only to find out it has no engine. Chao Yu feels doomed in his new role without magic. After a dramatic sigh, he accepts his talent, wondering about the worst that could happen. He rolls for talents ranging from F to S grade and ends up with the brave heart of a mage, though its grade remains a mystery. This talent gives him 10 attribute points with both passive and active effects, letting him bump one attribute up to match his highest one, but he can only use it once. In a world where free attribute points are about as common as a chill Monday, this is a huge deal. Usually, points come from leveling up or grinding hard in training. He realizes that boosting his attributes with physical skills could lead to crazy power. If his strength hits 1,000,000, he could become an unstoppable necromancer. Feeling a bit unhinged, he decides strength is the way to go and dumps all 10 points into it. Next on his list is registering and completing the beginner task to officially take on his class. He finds himself on a rocky bridge in front of a dark blue portal that leads to a beginner's dungeon. Waiting for him is a stunning elf named Elaine. She asks if he needs any help, and he's left wondering if she's even real. He tells her he's there to sign up and start his beginner task. Still a bit confused by his enthusiasm, Elaine explains that his beginner task is to escape from the Misty Cave without taking out any skeleton soldiers. But before she can finish, he jumps right into the dungeon. Who has time for instructions when you're a jacked necromancer armed with a beginner's staff? Chao Yu stepped into the dungeon through the beginner portal and found himself in this huge green cave packed with skulls. While checking out the cave, a skeleton monster crept up on him with a sword. As soon as he sensed the danger, Chao Yu's instincts kicked in. With a swift move, he used his staff and smashed the skeleton, killing it in one blow. The skeleton's head rolled away, burning in green flames. He couldn't believe how hard it was to get by without any magic. Just as he was figuring out his next move, a system message popped up. He had unlocked a killer new passive skill, Miracle of Might, which doubled his attack power based on his strength points. With 21 strength points, that meant he dealt 42 damage with every hit, making him a powerhouse. While he was checking out his new skill, more skeleton soldiers showed up to fight. Not backing down, he took aim with his staff and took them out with swift strikes. After taking down 4 skeletons, he levels up to genius status, and his strength becomes even more insane. Standing over the defeated skeletons, he felt like a total hero. Just then, a level 3 skeleton captain appeared. This skeleton isn't average. It has a shield and a long spear and looks ready for a real fight. Realizing he'd be in trouble if it landed a hit, he decides to go on the offense. The skeleton tried to defend itself with its shield and swung its spear, but Chao Yu dodged like a pro. Seizing the chance when the captain's spear got stuck, he went in for a decisive hit and struck the axe embedded in the skeleton captain's head. The captain fell apart, and Chao Yu snagged a monster core and a skeleton fist set as rewards. The skeleton fist set threw him off a bit as he guessed the system was gearing him up for some kind of boxing match. More skeleton soldiers rush in, but he makes quick work of them, leveling up again and boosting his strength, mana, health, and experience points into double digits. As he was battling the skeletons, all the other students wrapped up their beginner tasks and left the dungeon bragging about their new classes. One of them wondered why the principal hadn't said anything yet, thinking someone might still be stuck inside. Another guy chimed in that a simple task shouldn't take this long. If someone was still stuck in there, it'd be pretty embarrassing. Outside the dungeon, his best friend Yang Shi was pacing back and forth, anxious and worried. Meanwhile, Xiao Yu has taken down all the skeletons but is left scratching his head, waiting for the notification that he has completed his task. A booming voice echoed through the cave, bouncing off the walls. "How dare a vile human kill my children?" In no time, a green flame engulfs the skulls, forming a massive three-headed flame monster. He muttered under his breath that it was a boss in a beginner's dungeon. The level 10 Skeleton King, armed with bone pierce and bone explosion skills, raises its massive sword. Its fiery eyes locked onto Xiao Yu, ready for battle. He froze for a moment, caught off guard by the sheer size of the monster. As the Necroth swung its giant blade toward him, the level 3 necromancer squared his shoulders. If the system wanted a fight, he'd give it one. The Necroth slammed into the ground like a giant bone freight train, but Xiao Yu was quick on his feet and dodged just in time. He couldn't help but be impressed by the damage the sword did, as it left a crater behind. He knew if it caught him, it would be game over. Even though the Necroth was this massive king monster with a crazy high defense of 60, Xiao figured he still had a shot at winning. With a determined swing of his staff, he managed to land a hit, dealing 32 damage. It didn't seem like much, but it was a start. Feeling pumped from his little victory, he kept attacking, landing blow after blow. The Necroth stumbled, struggling to stay upright under the constant onslaught. Each hit was like a sculptor chipping away at the stone, and Xiao couldn't help but smile as soon enough he'd have this beast dancing to his tune. As the Necroth's health dropped to 200, it glowed with anger, its fiery eyes glaring at Xiao in disbelief that a newbie could actually hurt it. Realizing that trying to hit it head-on was turning into a bad idea, Xiao decided it was time to get clever. He lured the Necroth deeper into the dungeon, positioning himself right in front of a rocky boulder in a tight space. With some taunts, he sets the scene for his next move and turns the dungeon into his own playground. The Necroth, already fuming, spread its bone wings and went nuts. Xiao darted around like a squirrel on caffeine but still got caught in a shockwave that slammed him into a wall, taking a hit of 26 damage. Pain shot through him, and he realized he was barely hanging on, just a step away from defeat. Nevertheless, the Necroth was relentless. With a roar that could wake the dead, it charges at Xiao again and is determined not to let him slip away. Xiao rolled to the side just in time to dodge the monster's wild swing. The attack missed and smashed into the boulder he had cleverly set up earlier. The boulder cracked and rolled down, trapping the Necroth underneath and dealing a solid 70 GP damage. Seeing the Necroth struggling beneath the rubble was his chance. Heart racing and barely hanging on, he knew it was now or never. He jumped up and called forth his skeleton boxing glove. Aiming right at the beast's head, he mustered all his strength and delivered a massive hit. The punch landed with a bang, doing 132 GP damage and causing shockwaves that shook the ground beneath the monster. Suddenly, a portal to the next dungeon appeared as the green flame on the Necroth's head flickered and went out. A notification popped up, congratulating Xiao on becoming a real player in this wild adventure. The battle was over, and he had come out on top. After a huge game-changing blow, Xiao Yu takes down the boss of the Cave of Mist, and suddenly the whole place lights up like a fireworks show. He leveled up not once, not twice, but 3 times, shooting straight to level 5. Once everything calms down, he can't believe what he sees as a C-rank ring of Necroth appears in front of him. While he admired his new loot, a message popped up saying he was the first one to take down Necroth. It turns out others skipped the fight and just breezed through the trial. With a satisfied grin and some serious new power, he got ready to head out of the dungeon. Out of nowhere, Xiao finds himself back in the stadium and his best friend Yang Shi is bouncing over like a hyper kangaroo. Yang was seriously confused about where Xiao had been, joking that he might have joined some skeleton army since it had been 3 hours since everyone else had finished the dungeon. Xiao asked Yang what class he got, and Yang excitedly said he was a mage. That got Xiao wondering if they might actually get to team up for some dungeon adventures. Their class monitor, Ma Fei, took the chance to roast Xiao for being the last one to finish. Xiao was taken aback by the harsh comments, but decided to stay quiet. Principal Shua announced that everyone would start beginner training the next day and encouraged the class to introduce themselves and their skills. One student stepped up proudly as a D-rank soldier, and the crowd buzzed as others shared their assassin skills. Then came Zhao Ziyu, a stunning girl with a sweet vibe who introduced herself as both a mage and a healer. When it was Ma Fei's turn, he strutted in with the announcement that he was a swordsman with B-rank talent. That made the class buzz with excitement because being a swordsman is a big deal. Principal Xue even gave him a nod of approval, saying he was already a prodigy. He thought this group was shaping up nicely. Finally, it was Chao's turn to introduce himself. He confidently said he was a necromancer but kept his talent rank a secret since he wasn't even sure what it was. The principal pointed out that necromancers were super rare and valuable, leaving everyone else wide-eyed. Ma Fei, who had been poking fun at Chao, suddenly got tense when he heard about the necromancer gig. He comforted himself and thought that even if it was a hidden role, so necromancers needed strong allies like assassins and swordsmen to protect them while casting. Ma Fei felt pretty smug, thinking Chao's mystery talent rank must be low. He watched with satisfaction as Chao stood there. However, the other students started to admire Chao's modesty and calmness, viewing him as a true genius. Chao, as a necromancer, he was freaking out about not being able to summon any undead creatures and worrying about how his classmates would react. The principal is really impressed and thinks Chao has a great shot at getting into one of the country's top universities. Once everyone introduced themselves, he wrapped up the class and told them to get ready for the next day's training. As Chao was making his way home, Yang caught up with him, praising Chao's skills and feeling a bit bummed about not getting the necromancer role. He showed off his 8 spirit points, looking for some reassurance about his talent. Chao, remembering that he had a big fat 0 in his spirit stat, told Yang not to sweat it and said hard work could totally make up for anything. When he got home, the place was silent and empty as usual. He said he was home, like he always did since his parents went missing. It hit him hard, a reminder of when they disappeared on a trip to the capital when he was 6, leaving him alone with just a picture of them. After reflecting on the 12 years since they vanished, he decided he needed to get into the capital's university to find out what happened to them. The next day, Chiao and his classmates gathered for more beginner training. The principal kicked things off by telling them to back down if they ever felt overwhelmed, stressing that failing wasn't as bad as biting the dust. The students were a bit freaked out at first, but he reassured them that the beginner's world was mostly safe with a few exceptions, like the infamous Nightmare Village incident where an entire class of 40 kids disappeared without a trace. Even with all the fear and confusion, the principal told them not to take it too seriously, emphasizing that making a timely exit would keep them safe. As he prepared them to enter another world, the countdown hit 0, and dark energy wrapped around the students, zapping them to another realm. When they arrived, the village looked pretty ordinary and chill. Ma Fei, with a smug look on his face, took charge and confidently promised to lead everyone to success, urging them to stick close. Ma Fei thought that even though Chao was a necromancer, he was still the best choice to lead their group and show off his skills. Meanwhile, Chiao was scratching his head over why there were no system prompts in this weird beginner's world. Their thoughts were interrupted when a voice piped up from behind them. They turned to see an old guy with blue skin commenting on how they were too young for this. The startled students were confused and questioned who he was, but the old man just brushed them off and welcomed them to Nightmare Village. Suddenly, the village went from looking normal to super creepy. Then, a blue window popped up, telling them to leave alive and figure out the secret at the center of the village. The students freaked out because they knew this was the infamous place where 40 people had died and no one ever made it out. Panic spread, but Ma Fei tried to keep everyone calm, promising to get them out in one piece. Chao, on the other hand, stayed cool. Ma Fei insisted he'd lead them away from Nightmare Village, but Chao was quietly watching the old man, sensing he wasn't a bad guy. The old man said there was no need to freak out and that they should get comfy since they were stuck there for a while. Ma Fei took this as a cue to chill out and face whatever was coming, but the old man clarified that he meant they should accept that dying was on the table. This shocked everyone. He introduced himself as Wogan, the village head, and laid down 2 rules. They could stay in any empty house, but they absolutely could not touch the black stones on the doors, and they had to be back in their houses before nightfall and lock everything up until morning. Everyone took his advice that night and scattered to find a place to hide. They split up into 4 groups of 11. Chao's group found a decent house and secured it. Zhu suggested they hit the 2nd floor to stay safe. While Chao stood around, Ziyu approached him and asked if he would protect her if anything went wrong, hinting that she could heal him. Zhu jumped in, calling Ziyu a shameless, but she shot back, saying that it was none of his business if she was fine with it. A back and forth started with Zhu insulting Ziyu by comparing her melons to a cow, and Ziyu clapped back that anything was better than nothing. Zhu got angry and called Ziyu a fat in retaliation. While 2 girls were arguing, a student looked out the window and saw something outside and started crying for his granny. An old lady outside called out, asking him to open the window because she was cold and scared. The student did what she said, but Chao shouted that it wasn't his granny. Unfortunately, it was too late because the old lady attacked him. Everyone just froze in fear until Yang stepped in using some sand-binding magic to stop the old lady and told the students to get out of there. The student ran straight to Yang. The old lady then morphed into this terrifying red monster, a nightmare. A girl gasped, wondering how a regular monster could be so twisted. Before the beast could strike, Zhu created a magic shield to hold it off, but it drained her energy. She told Young to run. As Zhu thought about how to beat the nightmare, Chao suggested they could buy some time until he summoned the undead. Yang yelled at Chao, saying he was using the staff wrong, but Chao hit the nightmare and took it down in an instant. Everyone was left speechless at how quickly Chiao, a necromancer, had taken down the nightmare. The dead monster turned into a black stone with a symbol that matched the one on the doorframe. Ziyu pointed out it made sense, since both came from Nightmare Village. Chao felt weird about it though, since he didn't get any stat points from the kill, wondering if that meant there was a glitch. The next day, students thanked Zhu and Chao for saving them from the nightmare and gave props to Chao for his quick action. Ma Fei overheard and thought he wouldn't let someone like Zhu get hurt if he'd been there. When Chao spotted Ma Fei practicing outside early that morning, he praised his dedication. Yang chimed in that it was to be expected from the class monitor. Ma Fei humbly said he was just practicing, but he insisted he could protect Zhu from getting hurt. She shot back that as the tank, taking hits was her gig, and asked if Ma Fei was ready to handle that role all by himself. Out of nowhere, the village head showed up with the villagers and demanded that they kill all the students for what happened the night before. Ma Fei tried to reason with the village head but was accused of killing a nightmare, the spirits that protected the village. The head claimed the students had angered those spirits and were putting everyone in danger. Ma Fei nervously asked if there was a way to save the spirits. The village head said the one who angered the spirits had to spend the night outside. Ma Fei thought that was insane, especially not knowing how many nightmares were out there. Then Chao spoke up, admitting he was the one who killed the nightmare and volunteered to stay outside. Ma Fei was stunned, thinking Chao had lost it and was just trying to grab attention. But Chao assured him he had a plan and wanted to confirm something to help them escape the village. The villagers then chained Chao in the village center. Ma Fei and Zhu wanted to know what he was up to. Chao hinted that he might have discovered the village's secret and would test his theory that night. After dark, a nightmare was seen coming towards Chao. The nightmare monster suddenly pounced on him, but he just smiled, having seen it coming. Just as he was about to counterattack, Yang used his sand-binding magic to hope, insisting real heroes get forged in battle and that scars are like badges of honor. Yang and Zhu told him to aim for the nightmare's head, since that was its weak spot. Even though Chao warned him that the head wasn't actually the weak spot, Ma Fei brushed it off and thought Chao was just scared of being overshadowed. He kept pounding the nightmare's head but only managed to do a bit of damage. Frustrated and confused, Ma Fei started doubting Yang's advice and felt humiliated when Yang and Zhu suggested he might not be as skilled as Chao. Ignoring them and refusing to back down, Ma Fei was set on proving himself. Just as he was gearing up for another attack, Chao stepped in and took the nightmare down with his staff. Shocked, Ma Fei accused him of stealing his moment in glory. He got really mad, feeling like Chao took away his chance to shine in that fight. Yang had to hold Ma Fei back and remind him to chill out. Meanwhile, Chao was just focused on the black stones he got from the nightmare. 2 more nightmares appeared, and they all freaked out, not sure what to do next. But Chao quickly suggested they all head into the house, saying they didn't need to fight these nightmares because he had a plan to get through. Once inside, Zhu asked Chao how they were getting out of this. Chao replied they'd find out the next day and told them to trust him when the time came. The following day, the village head confronted the students, fuming that they killed yet another protector spirit and claiming they all had to die to save Nightmare Village. Chao stepped up and confronted the head, Wogan, about who he really was. Wogan brushed off the question, insisting they had been living there for generations and accused Chao of stalling. Chao finally spilled the beans and revealed that the villagers weren't originally from the place, and that they were actually from a group that got wiped out and trapped in some fantasy world. Wogan laughed it off and called Chao's story a joke just to avoid getting in trouble, insisting that he needed proof. Then, Chao pulled out a black stone and explained it was part of how the fantasy realm was put together. The village head flipped out and accused Chao of taking a protector stone, which was supposed to keep them safe from nighttime attacks. Chao's friends also showed their black stones, which made Wogan sweat a bit. Chao went on about how breaking these stones could open up cracks in the fantasy realm. At Chao's signal, the group smashed the stones, and cracks started forming in the sky. Suddenly, the villagers started to remember who they really were and how they ended up here. They recalled their promise to the principal about completing beginner training together, but being sent to Nightmare Village turned them into villagers after getting attacked by those scary nightmare monsters. Then the village head remembered he was actually the class monitor. There was a system notification saying that someone found the secret of Nightmare Village. The mission was shouted as a win. The village head, now a white-haired boy, gave a shout-out to Chow before vanishing to the real world. From village head to schoolboy just like that, Chow joked about it. Yang praised Chow's smarts, and even Ma Fei acknowledged he was pretty clever. Zhu was confused, asking why they were still there and hadn't left yet. Before Chiao could answer, a new system notification popped up congratulating the five of them for destroying the Black Nightmare Stones and giving them a new E-rank mission to retrieve the Heart of Nightmares. At the fourth campus, Principal was surprised to see all the students return from Nightmare Village, except for our boy and a few others. He suspected they had triggered a hidden mission which could grant them access to any university if completed. Meanwhile, in Nightmare Village, Ma Fei asked our hero what they should do next and pointed out that with their low levels, the hidden mission looked like a death wish. Zhu mentions that they might only need to wake up Village Head without messing with the Dark Stones. Our hero hadn't thought about that, but before he could say anything, Yang jumped in and said he had actually known breaking the stones would trigger a hidden world and wanted to grab. Once all the nightmares were gone, everyone was in high spirits and talked about how well they worked together. But our hero interrupted and was eager to keep hunting nightmares. Yang asked our hero if the hidden mission had to do with grabbing the Heart of Nightmares. Our boy replied that it probably was on a nightmare, so they were good to go with their plan. Suddenly, the ground gave way and they all dropped into a basement. Our hero landed hard, but wasn't hurt. He was wondering where they ended up and why the ground felt all soft and squishy. Turns out, he had landed right on Yang's butt. Yang asked our boy to get off him, still surprised about the weird softness. Once he got up, our boy checked in on everyone, and they all said they were fine. Yang complained about the strong smell, thinking they were in a sewer. Zhu explained it was from rotting animals and waste in the unventilated area. But then Zhu noticed something and told them that something was off. She pointed in a direction and mentioned they needed to check out whatever was causing that stinky breath. When everyone turned to where Zhu was pointing, they were shocked to see a massive creature dozing in front of them. It was the Nightmare King, a level 10 boss monster with 1,000 health. Our boy figured this Nightmare King was level 10, like the Skeleton King, but way more impressive. Yang guessed the Heart of Nightmares might be the monster's actual heart. Zhu suggested quitting the mission, noting the monster's 65 attacks could crush them easily. Ma Fei was on board with this idea, but he didn't want to show his fear, so he hesitantly said they should just let the Nightmare King be. Our hero believed they could defeat the nightmare. He pushed for strategy, pointing out that the monster might be strong, but its defense had to be weak somewhere. They had to work together to hold it down. The group agreed, trusting our hero with their lives. Ma Fei warned our hero not to overdo it and reminded him that there's no shame in running away from a boss this tough. Our hero told them to chill and just have faith in his plan. Our boy hopped onto the Nightmare King, hoping it wouldn't wake up until they struck. He knew the first hit was vital and noticed something shiny on its back that seemed to pulse like a heartbeat. That had to be the monster's weak spot. He lifted his staff, ready to attack with all he had. The Ring of the Nightmare King activated, and our boy landed a massive hit that did 508 damage. The whole group was stunned, wondering if that kind of damage was normal for a mage. Right then, the Nightmare King woke up and the message confirmed that they were now on an A-rank mission to take it down. The awakened Nightmare King roared, shaking the cave. Our boy jumped off its back and got everyone ready, urging them to stick to the plan and give him openings to attack. As he looked at the team, the Nightmare King growled that it would wipe out all the humans. Qiao was telling Ma Fei to get the monster's attention. Ma Fei jumped right in, ready to hit it with a big strike to break its defense, but was shocked when it only lost a single health point. He was totally confused about how Qiao had managed to nail it for 508 damage in one go. Despite feeling frustrated, Ma Fei decided to just chip away at the monster little by little, if that's what it took. The monster started taunting him, calling him a worm and saying it would make sure he got his wish to die first. Ma Fei started taunting the creature, bragging about his sword skills and questioning why he should be scared of death. When its massive hand swung at him, he called out to Yang and Zhu to block the hit. They used their sand binding and light shields to soften the blow, but it still hit hard. Ma Fei's health was dropping fast, barely kept up by Ziyue's healing. In a panic, he yelled to Qiao that he couldn't hang on much longer and needed him to step in. Qiao reassured him he was on it and launched a strong attack from behind, hitting for 182 damage. Then a system warning popped up for everyone, announcing that the monster's health was critically low and it was going to activate the Realm of Nightmares. Qiao was stunned and didn't know it had that ability. It released a devastating energy attack, draining everyone by 10 health. Yang warned them that the area damage couldn't be blocked. Realizing they had to wrap this up quickly, Qiao attacked again and brought its health down even more. He finished off the Nightmare King with one last hit, completing the Nightmare Village quest. A system notification congratulated him for being the first to take down the Nightmare Village's boss and gave him 30 free stat points. The hidden mission was done, and they got their rewards based on player ratings. The team let out a sigh of relief, finally having succeeded. They also each received D-rank special grade talents that really boosted their stats. Even though Chow got a new talent, he couldn't use it because his spirit stat was 0. Still, he held on to hope, focusing on the Nightmare King's soul for possible rewards. He ended up with a dragon-piercing sword, a B-rank weapon. Unfortunately, since he didn't use swords, he felt a bit unlucky. Noticing Ma Fei's excitement, he handed over the sword saying he was the only swordsman in the crew. After they took a breather, he checked his status panel and saw that his strength had gone up, but his health was still dangerously low at 70. He figured out he needed to find ways to stay alive, choosing stability over taking reckless risks. Then the system announced that the hidden mission was wrapped up and all players would be transported back to the real world. They found themselves back in the academy's main hall and were greeted by a bunch of students. Principal Xue showed up quickly, relieved and excited to see them back after 2 days. He asked about their adventure, and Chow shared their story. The principal laughed, having guessed they'd stumbled into a hidden world, and he predicted that the top universities would soon be competing for them. Just then, reps from Huaqing University and Jingdu University arrived. Teacher Peng from Jingdu University praised the group for their incredible achievement and offered to accept them right away. Teacher Pei explained that the test would determine their roles and adaptability, making sure their stats fit the school's criteria. Teacher Peng was impressed with Ma Fei's progress. Kids like him were rare. Teacher Pei was also impressed and pointed out Ma Fei's bravery. Teacher Pei was eager to see what Ma Fei could do. Getting ready to attack, Ma Fei warned Teacher Pei to watch out because he wouldn't hold back. He went for his world-separating strike against the teacher's shield. To his surprise, he actually broke through. Even though defense wasn't Pei's strong suit, Ma Fei's achievement was still impressive for someone at level 5. Teacher Pei congratulated him and praised the rarity and power of the shield-breaking technique he used, which boosted the strike at the sword's tip. Teacher Peng was pretty impressed and mentioned that Ma Fei's attack speed and concentration showed he must have crazy strength. His classmates were blown away, realizing that a level 5 could hit that hard. Noticing Teacher Pei's interest, Teacher Peng figured he wanted to recruit Ma Fei. Teacher Pei asked about his university plans and assured him a spot at Hing University. Teacher Peng invited Ma Fei to Jingdu University. Ma Fei asked for time to decide, wanting to see Chow's university choice and determined to outshine him. Teacher Pei went along with it and called up the Teacher Pei was curious about the undead creature Chow might summon. He figured he could handle one disciple hurting him, but if another did, he might as well quit. As Chow sprinted, Teacher Pei was puzzled. When Chow prepared to throw a punch, Teacher Pei totally underestimated him. Assuming a mage wouldn't pack much of a punch, he let Chow hit him. But Chow went all out, delivering a blow that did 200 damage and sent Teacher Pei flying across the room. Everyone gasped, unable to wrap their heads around how a level 7 could knock a level 25 teacher down like that. Teacher Peng questioned Teacher Pei and asked how he got taken down by a level 7 necromancer, especially since necromancers were usually seen as the weakest. Teacher Pei was shocked and angry, struggling to believe a level 7 newcomer hit him that hard. He wondered what kind of monster Chow was. Chow's classmates were shocked, with some speculating he might be an undead summoned by the real Chow hiding somewhere. They found his impressive feat puzzling, since necromancers were usually physically weak. Teacher Peng felt a mix of fear and relief when he realized Teacher Pei was in charge of the tests. If he had to handle it, he might not have looked great. Chow asked if he'd finished his test, but Teacher Pei, intimidated, dodged the question. Teacher Peng said Chow had passed but couldn't get a proper score without showing his undead magic. Chow insisted that he wanted to study physical fighting like a warrior, but it was really just an excuse because his main goal was to get into Jingdu University. Teacher Peng thought it was a bit odd for someone to pick a major that didn't match their talent, so he decided to ask the principal about it. Teacher Peng told the Jingdu University principal about a talented necromancer from Sioux City's 4th college interested in physical fighting. The principal was confused until Peng mentioned the level 7 necromancer had knocked out a Hing University teacher with one punch. Principal Ji Ping set up a video call to personally invite Chow. During the call, Principal Ping introduced himself and encouraged Chow and his classmates to join Jingdu University. highlighting its long history and great teachers. But Qiao interrupted, saying he had already made up his mind to attend Jingdu University. This caught Teacher Pei off guard since he wanted to recruit Qiao for his own school. He decided to focus on trying to recruit Qiao's friends instead, but Principal Ping kept the invitation open for them all, suggesting they could back each other up. Teacher Pei was frustrated, thinking Jingdu University was snatching up too many students. Teacher Peng was thrilled, seeing this as the highlight of his admissions career. Then, Qiao asked Principal Ping if he knew his dad, Qiao Anqing. Principal Ping looked shocked and asked if Qiao was the son of Qiao Anqing and Bai Shixia. He told Qiao he hadn't seen them in over 10 years but remembered them being really talented. Principal Ping wondered if they had disappeared or passed away but didn't want to put that directly on Qiao. Instead, he suggested Qiao check out his private world, where his parents might have left something for him. Principal Ping assured everyone that the acceptance letters would be coming soon. They figured they'd try to pass the test for their roles before school kicked off so they'd get some respect when they showed up. Wishing everyone good luck, they set a plan to meet at Jingdu University in a week. After they wrapped up beginners training, the fourth college put students into classes based on their roles from the other world. In the mage class, Principal Xue explained they'd enter a world for mages, focused on logic games and riddles. He emphasized teamwork for better results and outlined how to succeed. Yang and Xiao teleported into the mage world. Xiao felt unsure, but Yang reassured him that practice beats theory. He suggested Xiao carry him, saying he could revisit the world even without rewards. Yang then spotted the elf girl Xiao had noticed earlier, complimented her vibe, and mentioned they were entering the mage world. The girl welcomed them, and the system started pairing them for a world. They found out they'd be entering the cave of 10,000 poisons. Xiao wanted to dip, but Yang held him back, asking why he wasn't focused on the mission. Xiao wondered what instructions Yang was talking about. Yang was surprised and asked how Xiao had passed the cave of skeletons without listening. Realizing he messed up, Xiao felt embarrassed. Yang called him an idiot, and the elf girl jumped in with the details. She talked about a nasty tribe in Qiandongnan, known for poisonous worms that could sneak up on people. To finish their mission, they had to find the evil tribe and wipe out all their worms. Their rewards would depend on how they handled it. With that, Qiao and Yang stepped into the world portal. They quickly got matched with 3 more players. One guy told Qiao not to hold them back, but a blue-haired girl chimed in, encouraging everyone to be nice since they were brought together by fate. She introduced herself as Fang Yuan, a fire mage, and her little brother Fang Shun, who was also a fire mage. The last player was Long Cheng. Qiao and Yang introduced themselves, emphasizing how teamwork was crucial to finish the mission. They came up to a stone door but couldn't budge it. Yuan saw some words carved on the door and thought they were instructions. Cheng shrugged off the instructions and tried to smash the door with magic, but nothing happened, proving that spells weren't going to work. The group wondered what the inscription meant. Qiao figured there might be another way to get the door open since it was resisting magic. Just as Yuan was about to share her answer, Qiao punched the door and broke it open with one hit. Yuan and Longchang were left shocked, totally baffled about how he pulled that off in a specialized mage world. Out of nowhere, the system pinged them that the door had swung open and Yang was impressed by what Qiao did. Qiao said he just wanted to see if the door could be pushed, not expecting it to budge that easily. Once they got through, they stumbled upon another path blocked by these weird red flowers. Qiao warned everyone to watch out, but they were already too late. Yang pointed out that the flowers had poisoned them, and Qiao could feel his health plummeting fast. Yang asked him what they should do next. Qiao urged everyone to keep moving because stopping would mean they'd definitely bite the dust. Knowing he wasn't going to last long, Qiao led them toward another stone gate. They needed to solve a puzzle to open it, but time was ticking. Before they could brainstorm, he just punched through the gate, saying his dad didn't know the answer anyway. Thanks to Qiao, they made it past the poisonous flowers. Yuan and her friends were in shock and started wondering if they'd need to tackle riddles in this place since they hadn't given it much thought. A system notification popped up congratulating them for finishing their first mission, which was finding the evil tribe in the cave of 10,000 poisons. Yuan asked where they should head to next. Just then, they spotted a little girl with blue hair named Xiaodong. She asked if they were from outside and noticed they were poisoned. She explained the poison came from the bee and flowers and urged them to follow her back to the cave for treatment. Qiao was skeptical and questioned how she knew about the cave. Yuan suggested they go with her since they didn't have many options. Eventually, they made it to the cave, where Xiaodong introduced them to her parents. Her folks asked about the group, and Dong told them she found them poisoned while out gathering plants. She asked her parents to whip up a pot of 5 poison soup for them. Dong's mom welcomed them in and promised to prepare the soup to help. When the soup was finally ready, nobody wanted to be the first to try it. Chang suggested Yang take the plunge, but Yang passed it to Chow instead. With his health getting low, Chow chugged the soup down quickly. After finishing, he said it actually tasted pretty good and that the poison was gone. He encouraged the others to drink some too. They hesitated but eventually gave it a shot only to find it tasted terrible. Chow asked Dong about the cave's history. Her mom nervously asked Chow if the poison was really gone and suggested they should leave since the cave wasn't too friendly to outsiders. Dong got upset and told her mom not to talk to their guests like that. She offered Chow to stick around as long as they wanted. Chow mentioned they weren't feeling great and would rather stay put if it wasn't an issue. Chow couldn't shake off how weird Dong's parents were acting. Xiaodong, along with her mom and dad, looked super excited about the red full moon that was set to rise that night. When the full moon came up, they all got together by a well and called on the Great Swam to hook them up with nice weather and keep them safe from illnesses. In return, they offered human flesh and blood as sacrifices. A massive swarm of bugs emerged from the well, attacked the people offered as sacrifices and reduced them into skeletons. From the woods, Chow and the crew were shocked to see how they were actually feeding people to the insects. Chow quickly told everyone to make a run for it since taking down those poisonous bugs on top of all those tribespeople wouldn't be easy. The village matriarch caught on to what was happening and sent Zhu Shi after them, telling her to be nice so they could stay alive. Meanwhile, Chow and the others headed back to the village house. Yuan was worried that if the tribespeople figured out they were there to wipe out the insects, they might throw them to the bugs too. All of a sudden, Chow heard a commotion and spotted hundreds of scorpions heading their way. Yuan was blasting her magic at the insects while Chow tried taking them on in close combat, but he wasn't getting any stat points since they were too weak. That's when Yang jumped in with his sand binding and ground explosion, taking out all the insects and even wrecking the house in the process. Chow was quick to give him props for that. Zhu showed up pretty furious since they had wiped out the insect swarm in their cave. Yang tried to hit him with a ground explosion, but it barely touched him. Everyone was blown away by his stats because they were almost at boss level. Yuan pointed out that this mission might be way over their heads. Chow thought this world was different and decided to take a swing at Zhu. Even though Zhu acted all high and mighty, Chow's punch did some serious damage. Zhu got furious and used his insect bite ability, which pumped up his stats big time. Zhu was feeling all pumped and started bragging, but in the end, Chow took him down and left Zhu with just 23 health. That's when everyone clued into Chow's real strength. He then started grilling Zhu about the sacrifice and a mysterious woman. With no way out, Zhu spilled the beans about the insect sacrifice their matriarch did every month as a deal with the insect queen mother, and mentioned that the greenstone well is where she hangs out and breeds. Yang also figured out that Dong's family was trying to save them since they were the next ones in line for sacrifice. Chow asked Zhu why Xiaodong called the place the Cave of 10,000 Souls, but Zhu called it the Cave of 10,000 Poisons. Zhu was a bit confused since the only name with Dong connected to it was their matriarch, Shun Dong. Chow got it and thanked Zhu for clearing that up. When Zhu asked if he could leave, Chow had other plans in mind. He punched him to death as his HP was already low. Chow leveled up by racking up stats and experience points. He was super excited when an NPC dropped S-rank Sage's protection, which saved him from a deadly hit. Everyone was on edge because the matriarch controlling the poisonous insects seemed almost unbeatable. Chow reassured them that their mission was just to take out all the insects, and they didn't need to deal with the tribespeople. They had to blow up the well where the insects were nesting before the matriarch. Yang and the others used their magic to destroy it, leaving a big hole in the ground. But even with that done, their mission was still not over. Out of nowhere, the matriarch laughed as she approached with Kwang Mang and assumed that Zhu was done for. Chow asked if he should call her the matriarch of the cave or Xiaodong. She shot back, wondering if his big brother didn't like her current look. She seemed a bit down, saying she had hoped to keep her bloodline going with him. Still, since he had killed so many insects, Chow then asked why she would kill her tribespeople, especially her parents. When she called her own parents trash, it really set off Chow's anger. Seeing Chow getting all worked up over his parents, Shun Dong couldn't help but mock him and sent a swarm of bugs after him. Yuan and the others tried to jump in and help, but Kwang Mang, an NPC hanging with Shun, stopped them. He warned them not to mess with his matriarch and got ready to fight. Even though the bugs were coming at him hard, Chow kept pushing through, fueled by his last life from Sage's protection. He figured that if he took out Shun, the bug frenzy would stop, so he charged at her. Shun, thinking her insect wall had him covered, was totally caught off guard when Chao smashed right through it and landed a solid punch, making a hole in her body. Shun totally lost her cool, showing off that she was a special NPC. Chao was also scratching his head, surprised that she was a rare NPC but had low stats. She suddenly increased her agility and launched a powerful attack on him, stabbing him in the chest. Chiao was stunned and vomited blood with very low remaining health. She threatened him and kept her hand lodged in his chest. Seeing how bad things are for Chiao, Yang jumps in to help. But Kwang steps in and insists that he shouldn't get involved. Yang tries to use his sand-binding magic on Kwang, but Kwang just laughs it off, thinking it won't work. However, he does notice that the sand is red instead of yellow. But by then, it's already too late. The resulting explosion annihilates Kwang. Yang transforms into a handsome young man. Yuan and Chang are astonished. Yang then ran to help Chao. Chao asked about his transformation. He explained that he had burned his body fat and boosted his spirit to 300. Realizing Yang's potential, Chao grabbed Shun and told him to use ground explosion on both of them. Yang refused, as Chao would die, but Chao urged him to trust him and proceed. Shun pleaded to release her, but it was too late. Yang triggered a big explosion that rocked the ground, sending up a massive cloud of dust. Once it cleared, Chao stepped out of the smoke, totally fine thanks to Sage's protection. His strength and health had really shot up. Yang felt relief seeing Chao back in action, but he still hadn't gotten a notification about Shun's death. Out of the smoke, Shun appeared and congratulated them, saying they'd soon see her true form. She changed half of her body into an insect, making her way stronger. Chao and Yang were taken aback. Chao tried to tell Yang to use the ground explosion, but he couldn't because he was low on spirit points. The system chimed in, letting them know that this was way tougher than anything newbies should handle and suggested they get out of there. But Chao was set on tackling this challenge as Principal Ping had ordered. Chao charged at Shun, and the two fought with intense force. His superior strength allowed him to land more powerful blows, overwhelming Shun with every strike. Shun was shocked by Chao's resilience and strength and started to suspect he might be linked to Bai Zhe or even be its creator. Chao ignored her questions and launched a devastating attack while stating his name. The strike was fatal and left Shun near death. As her life slipped away, she wondered if Chao was connected to a lord but could not understand why he would kill her. With Shun defeated, Chao felt a surge of power as he leveled up. The system gave everyone a shout-out for nailing a specialized world for mages, doling out rewards based on their rankings. Everyone was relieved to have finally passed, and our boy was pretty stoked to hit level 10 this early. The system revealed some armor that boosted health by 800, perfect for Chao's skills. Plus, there was this mysterious Rubik's Cube that started syncing up with him. He was surprised to find it let him assess people's abilities, even though other skills were still locked. Out of nowhere, Elaine popped up through a portal to give them a congrats and tossed in 20% extra spirit. Yang found it funny, but Chao wasn't amused since his spirit was still 0, meaning 20% of nothing is still nothing. Before heading out, Yuan and her crew thanked Chao for saving them and asked about their university plans. Our boy said they were off to Jingdu University. After they left, Elaine was watching them with this mysterious smile. At the 4th college canteen, Ma Fei was blown away to see Chao hit level 10, especially since the warrior world had way more monsters than mages. Ziyue and Zhu couldn't wrap their heads around Yang's transformation, but he didn't care about looking good and just kept munching away since he knew he'd pack on the pound soon. He started wondering if they'd still have to sit for the otherworld examination even after getting spots at Jingdu. In Kaiji, examination day was a big deal, as it chose the next batch of talented individuals. The top scorer gets some sweet equipment, and Ma Fei was swinging his sword saying he was going for it since the top scorer walked away with S-rank gear. On his way home, our boy thought he was probably going to be the top scorer this time. Suddenly, he noticed a couple of guys following him. They jumped out in front of him, and he was caught off guard, asking if they needed help. Turns out, they were assassins, and they wanted to know if he was Chiao, the one who took out Shundong. He started wondering if these guys were from Bai Zhe, the organization Shundong mentioned. So, he spun a lie saying he was Ma Fei and that they had the wrong person. One assassin actually apologized to him, but the other guy punched him, clearly thinking he was dumb for lying, and told him to check if he was a mage. They lunged at him, but he dodged without breaking a sweat. They were totally shocked, and without wasting time, Chao charged at one of them, landing a solid punch and knocking him down. The second assassin was stunned by the kid's strength and figured he couldn't be a mage. Chao got fired up, asking if the guy wanted to go another round. The assassin got scared and quickly apologized, saying they mistook him for someone else. He mentioned that he was just a tiny part of an organization ranked in the 7000s. Our boy was confused, thinking about how someone could be ranked so low in BaiZ at level 18, and worried he should report them before they took revenge. He told them he hoped they could find Chao, and asked them to let him, Ma Fei, know if he could help out with anything. When Xiao got home, he found out that BaiZ was actually the name of a legendary beast known for its lion-like strength and fire energy. He searched for the organization but came up empty. Realizing his secret might be out soon, he decided to take the exam for Jingdu University, thinking that he'd be safer there with the famous swordsman principal, Ping, keeping an eye out. After thinking it all through, he pulled out a Rubik's Cube he found back in the last world he passed through. He was curious about it, wondering if it was something his parents had left behind, and what it might have to do with BaiZ. Those two assassins came back to update their mysterious female boss. She asked about what they knew regarding Shun's death, but they admitted their info was off, despite him being powerful. She called them useless and told them to shift their focus to Sioux City instead. Our boy dropped by the principal's office at 4th College. He wanted the principal to check out the sealed Rubik's Cube and figure out how to open it. The principal explained there's a special key that can unlock anything without wrecking the cube. Chao had no clue where to find this key, so Principal Xue told him it could be seen in the Kingdom of Machines and warned him to watch out for others who might try to mess with him. When he got to the human area of the Kingdom of Machines, he remembered the principal's talk about a past war between humans and machines that ended with a peace treaty and this kingdom being created. He needed to get a secret mission from the city's landlord, Hua Jun, to score the key. While he was lost in these thoughts, he passed by an old guy in a lab coat who seemed deep in thought, mumbling about some experiment. Suddenly, he bumped into this big muscular dude and fell over. The old guy apologized and tried to brush it off, but the muscular guy flipped out, claiming he did it on purpose and demanded cash. With all the noise, Chao couldn't just stand by and watch the old guy get shaken down. He stepped in, and when the muscular guy tried to scare him, Chao punched him hard, sending him crashing into the wall. His friend was so shocked by Chao's strength that he immediately apologized and offered to fix things. He then checked on the old man to make sure he was okay. The old man tried to give Chao some money, saying it was all he had. Chao told him not to even think about comparing him to those thugs. He wasn't after their cash. He asked if he could help Chao get in touch with the landlord of the City of Machines for those keys. The old dude smiled and said he could help set up a meeting. The old man cautioned that getting anything from the landlord wouldn't be a walk in the park. Chao was confident, assuring him of his strength. Meanwhile, the muscular guy and his buddy watched from above, wondering if the landlord had figured out who he was looking for, feeling overwhelmed by Chao's strength. At the Kingdom of Machines headquarters, Lady Mond asked Blitz to bring Professor Hua Jun to his seminar. Blitz grinned and said he'd take care of it. The old man led Chao to a huge palace, claiming the landlord was inside. Chao was curious if this was the landlord's place and how the old man could just wander around there. But when he turned back, the old man was gone. As he stepped into the palace, he saw the old man again, along with a muscular dude and a friend who had just gotten beaten up. The old man revealed he was actually the landlord of the city, and the other two were his toughest bodyguards. Chao asked why they had attacked him. The landlord explained it was a test to find someone stronger than his bodyguard, and that someone turned out to be Chao. He offered Chao a key to all locks if he agreed to help him with something. The landlord informed him that he would hold an academic seminar tomorrow to publicize his research on machines and organic life. Chao realized that the landlord wanted him to protect him, but the landlord corrected him, saying he wanted him to defeat the Queen of the Kingdom of Machines and destroy her mechanical heart. In this way, he would obtain the key to all locks. Confidently, Chao accepted the mission. The next day at the seminar, the landlord kicked off his talk about how machines and organic life were evolving. Chao was zoning out, wondering why the robots still hadn't shown up. Out of nowhere, something smashed through the roof and landed with a loud thud. The robot Blitz cracked a joke, saying that flesh and blood were weak, while machines were forever. He urged Professor Hua to ditch his human form and go all in on machinery. Blitz showed up at the seminar and totally freaked everyone out. Security quickly surrounded him, and one of the bodyguards told Blitz he needed to go because it wasn't his scene. Out of nowhere, he throws a punch at the landlord's toughest bodyguard and takes out the rest of them just as fast. Our boy got really mad and tried to step in when he saw this happening, but the landlord held him back. They were there for him, and he was ready to head to the Kingdom of Machines, betting everything on Chao. Blitz was taking down the bodyguards and bragging about his muscles. Then, out of the blue, Manda drops down from the roof and asks the landlord to roll with him. The landlord said he'd go, but only if Mond told his crew to back off. So, Mond ties the landlord up with some mechanical chains, starts to leave, and calls Blitz back. But Blitz wasn't done yet and wanted to keep the action going a bit longer. After Mond left, our boy called out to Blitz, mocking him for bragging about his most muscular physique. Blitz laughed that they didn't understand the beauty and power of mechanical transformation. He also asked Chow to join the mechanical transformation. Without thinking, our boy punched Blitz in the stomach, causing significant damage. Blitz shocked. Chow had made a hole in Blitz's body and apologized for rejecting his offer. Blitz couldn't believe a human could punch through his biochemical physique and easily overpower him. He questioned how a mortal could be more potent than a machine. Our boy answered that he possessed an ancient holy physique. He then kicked him to the ground, stood over him, punched him again, and threatened to tear him apart if he didn't scream at the kingdom of machines. With no other options, Blitz ended up giving Chow a ride to the kingdom of machines. It hit our boy that the landlord had actually let himself get captured just to help Chiao reach the kingdom and take out the mechanical heart. Blitz was pretty freaked out by Chow's power, so he used his transmission skills to fill Monde in on what was happening. Monde took the professor to the headquarters and apologized for the rough introduction. The professor made it clear he wasn't about to turn against humanity to side with machines. He tried to warn Mon not to be so stubborn and showed him this mechanical heart. The professor lashed back, calling Mond a traitor for working alongside robots like one of their pets. Mond urged him to take another look, and all of a sudden, lots of humans were falling towards the mechanical heart, which started grabbing at them with tentacles. The humans screamed for help, but no one was there to help them. The mechanical heart devoured them all. Our boy made it to the kingdom of machines and ran into a whole army of robots. They spotted him right away and recognized him as an intruder. Chow started taking them out one by one, and to his surprise, he racked up a few stat points along the way. He was pretty stoked about the unexpected boost. He took down all the bots in no time. Then, the professor took one look at this mechanical heart and called it a monster. Mond chimed in, explaining that the heart named Marta was a total failure. It was meant to grow robots, but somehow ended up as a life-devouring beast. He urged the professor to figure out a way to deal with Marta, because otherwise people were going to keep dying from its hunger. After seeing all that, the professor realized he could only depend on Chow to handle it. Just then, a robot burst in with some bad news, letting Mond know that a human had snuck into the kingdom. Mond asked if it was the guy with the ancient holy physique that Blitz had mentioned. Out of nowhere, an axe came flying in from the other side of the door, and there was our boy, peeking in like Johnny from one of his corniest videos. The landlord was pretty pumped to see that Chow had shown up. Monde couldn't help but wonder if Chow was actually a human with some kind of ancient holy powers. He welcomed him to the kingdom of machines and didn't really think Chow would take down Blitz. Our boy couldn't resist throwing some shade, saying it'd be a bummer for Monde to lose to a human with ancient holy vibes, and asked if he wanted to get revenge. Monde's robots charged at Chow, but he just smiled, ready to rack up some free stat points. He took a swing at both robots and scored those points. Mond was shocked by Chow's strength and started thinking that if he teamed up with them and got some mechanical upgrades, he could totally become the strongest warrior around. Chow wanted to make sure the landlord was all right. The landlord told him to check out the mechanical heart, and he swung at the mechanical heart, Marta, with all his strength, dealing some serious damage. Amonde got really mad and jumped in to stop him. When our boy saw him coming, he switched his target from Marta to Mund and told him not to get in the way. Monda's internal systems were flashing warnings about how dangerous this was and suggested he should run. But before he could do anything, our boy clocked him right in the face. Monde went flying and crashed into the wall, totally wrecking his face armor. Instead of getting ticked off, Monde was blown away by how strong this kid was and decided he had to keep him in the kingdom of machines. Meanwhile, our boy just kept hammering away at Marta, causing her health to drop with every punch. Finally, he breaks and hits the final blow with full power, causing Marta to explode and shatter into pieces. Human blood rained from Marta as it was destroyed. Monde was furious and lunged at him, demanding to know if he realized just how much hope Marta had invested in the robots. Chow was taken aback by the amount of blood pouring from Marta, and he couldn't help but think about how many humans Mond must have fed to it. Feeling a mix of anger and disbelief, Chow confronted Monde, who, despite being human, claimed to be a robot, warning him that he could be next in line. Monde urged Chow to hold on and listen, saying that even though he had some serious power with his ancient physique compared to the queen, it was still nothing major. He mentioned that even if Chow took out Marta, the queen wouldn't hold it against him and might actually give him a shot at redemption. Monde wanted Chow to come with him to meet the queen so she could forgive him. Confused, Chow wondered if Mond really wasn't the top dog in the machine kingdom. Just then, Landlord called out to Chow, warning him not to fall for Mond's tricks. Chow reassured the landlord that he wasn't into mechanical evolution and fully trusted his own body. Mond, however, was sure Chow would change his mind after seeing the queen's true power, so they both set off to meet her. As Monde was taking the lead to see the queen, he let loose a tiny mechanical bug that looked like a mosquito. It landed right on Chiao's neck. This little critter had the power to infect humans and slowly turn them into machines. Chiao couldn't spot the tiny mechanical bug because it was so small. Monde was pretty happy, thinking the queen would give him a high five for messing with the ancient holy physique. Just as the bug's red eyes lit up to stab its parasite needle into Chiao's neck, our guy swatted it away with a slap. When he figured out it was Mond's bug, Chiao jumped to attack him. Monde was caught off guard, but Chiao landed a punch in his stomach before he could react. Monde stumbled back but managed to stay on his feet. Chiao realized dealing with level 15 NPC was going to be a real challenge. Monde got mad, thinking Chiao was being reckless and didn't care about seeing the queen. But Chiao was pretty pleased that Monde decided to attack first. He thought the queen might be close by, and he didn't need Monde showing him the way. Monde smiled, saying that he would force him if he refused willingly. Mond's body evolved, and he thought the queen would create a new mechanical body for Chiao, even if he broke his limbs. He went after Chiao with his mechanical fist, but our guy hit back, and their fists smashed together. He mocked Monde, asking if he still hadn't learned his lesson. Monde was taken aback that his fancy mechanical fist didn't do anything at all. That's when he realized the real power of the ancient holy physique. He grabbed Mond's mechanical hand, calling it junk, and then landed a hard punch to his stomach, causing serious damage. Frustrated and unable to fight back, Monde begged him to stop and let go. Then, Chiao headbutted him, sending him crashing into the wall. Monde got back up, but this time his mechanical face showed up, and he transformed into his strongest version. He admitted he had totally underestimated the ancient holy physique and promised to give Chiao the respect he deserved. Our boy thought it was a weird look, but Monde just laughed and jumped in to attack him. Realizing it was time to step up his game too, Chiao threw another punch. Their fists collided, creating a huge explosion, and just like that, Monde was done for. After the win, Chiao scored some stat and experience points. The system even congratulated him for becoming an early-stage mage. He was pretty surprised by that, but he still had 0 spirit points. Once he wrapped up the hidden mission, Chiao finally grabbed the key to all the locks and was excited because he'd finished the city lord's task. It was finally time for our guy to meet the Queen of Machines, and he was hoping she'd hook him up with some top-notch gear. But just then, he hit a snag. A locked door with a passcode. He tried a bunch of codes that popped into his head, but no luck. Frustrated, he muttered to himself that if he'd known he needed to take out Monde, he probably wouldn't have messed around. Now, he had no idea where to find someone who could give him the passcode. Meanwhile, on the other side of the door, the Queen of Machines was chilling on her throne, totally taken aback to see a human. Suddenly, Chow barged in and smashed the door with a punch, grinning like it was no big deal. Our guy was shocked to see a human girl in the room and started to wonder if there were other humans stuck there because of Monde, or if she was the queen herself. He walked up to her and asked what she was doing there. She was surprised to see Chow and sensed he was different. Our guy called her Little Sis, asking if she could talk and what her name was. She responded that she was the queen of the kingdom of machines. Chow couldn't believe it. She was the queen. She had some serious stats like an epic level of 48 and a health of 100,000. But the rest of her stats were a mystery.